for
This
the Pledge of
conference will
Allegiance,
now
please?
be recorded.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the
and to the republic for which it
it
stands, one nation, under God,
under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice
and
for all.
justice for all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. That was Patrick. The first item on the agenda, I would take a motion to approve the agenda as printed.
So moved.
Rick made the motion.
I'll second.
Maggie seconded it. Any discussion? All in favor? I'll start with Maggie tonight.
Aye.
Sean,
Aye.
Rick,
Aye.
is Bruce on here? I don't see him.
Not
And
yet.
Jurek votes aye. I'm just checking my voicemails. So the next item on the agenda is the vacation of the public right-of-way, Planning and Community Development Director, Ken Ondich.
All right, thank you, Mayor. I'm going to take a look at the screen. I do have an air photo of the property surrounding the New Prague Utility Commission shop at 201 4th Street North, or 7th Street Northwest, excuse me. As we will know later on our agenda, we have a variance also being considered for tonight. But the first item to be considered is vacation of a 16.5-foot wide right-of-way, which is indicated on the map here in the yellowish orange color. We had introduced the ordinance to vacate this right-of-way and called for the public hearing at tonight's meeting. Since that time, we did advertise the public hearing in the newspaper. We also sent notification to all the utility companies in the area in case they had any underground utilities. And at the time of putting the memo together, and actually through today, I have not heard from any utility company that had any concerns about utilities within this right away and its vacation. But we do still need to hold that public hearing tonight. So with that, again, I have the second reading of the ordinance to consider once we get through the public hearing tonight. But the right of way being vacated is a 16.5-foot wide strip indicated in yellow on the air photo here. So all I have with the staff report for this evening, and if council has any questions, otherwise you can go ahead with the public hearing.
Mayor Jurek, it would be appropriate for you to indicate that the public hearing is open and have any comments directed to you as mayor and the council.
Okay. Sorry, I had my mic off. So I would take a motion to close the regular meeting and open the public hearing.
Dwayne, no, we don't need to do that. We're
I'm
okay.
sorry.
All we're doing is simply holding a public hearing. And
Okay.
so that was scheduled for 6 p.m. per the notice. So all you have to do is officially open the public hearing and allow the public to comment. When we get done, then simply just close the public hearing.
Gotcha. Thank you. So I'm going to open the public hearing. Is there any comments on this matter of the vacation of the right-of-way? Is there any?
With NAFCOM Communications, I was just looking at from the picture, it shows to vacate all the way to the boulevard. We have a fiber run going north and south right along there. Would that have to be moved, or is that okay?
No, we wouldn't be vacating that existing easement that lies along this side of the property. So no, that will still remain in place. It's just the right of way as part of this old plat that's being vacated.
Okay, then we shouldn't have any problems.
And Barb,
Yep.
you caught his name?
It's Adam Obermeyer.
Okay, yes. Thank you, Adam.
And Adam was from where?
NAFCOM
Bevcom.
Communications.
Any other comments? Any other comments? Hearing no other comments, I'll close the public hearing.
No, that does require a council action. Motion and a second to close the hearing.
Okay,
Plain as mud, right? I'll make a
Okay.
motion to close the public hearing.
okay. Is there a second?
This is Bruce, I'll second.
Bruce made the second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Maggie,
Aye.
Sean,
Aye.
Rick,
Aye.
Bruce,
Aye.
and Jurek votes aye. Motion carries. And then the adoption of the ordinance 320 vacating certain public right-of-way in the plat of the new Prague outlets. So does somebody want to offer that?
So
I'll move
moved.
that.
I heard Sean, Maggie,
I'll second.
Sean moved, Maggie seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Maggie,
Aye.
Sean,
Aye.
Rick,
Aye.
Bruce,
Aye.
and Jurek votes aye. All right,
Thank you.
thank you. Next is number 2, the presentation of the Economic Development Authority. I think we have the EDA President Brent Quast here. Yes, I see Brent.
Yep, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, go ahead.
One of the things that we had with a lot of activities we've had in my time on the EDA, I've been on the board going back to 2014, might have even been a partial term prior to that, but had never really taken a holistic approach to show the council what we've been working on. So we thought with the new mayor in place and some turnover on the council that it might be a good opportunity just to kind of run through what the EDA has been focused on over the last several years. So with the assistance from the city staff, we put together the packet that was shared with everybody. And I'll just cover a few of the highlights on there. And if there's anything that I touch on that elicits some questions, conversation, or want some additional information on, just jump in and let me know. But these kind of consist of the major undertakings that we've done, really going back to, I think you can kind of point to 2014 when we acquired and brought online the industrial park lots on the northwest side of town. So the first thing we hit on there, we participated in both 2016 and 2017 with the Small Cities Development Program. That's some funding available through the Small Cities Development Corps, Minnesota. And what they do is provide some matching funds that we were able to use in the immediate and surrounding downtown areas to assist property owners of both commercial and residential properties with just some general upkeep, facelifts, those sorts of things to help out with the appearance of the properties. Spent 2 years on that project, and coming out of there, we assisted 8 commercial businesses downtown, 3 residential homes in the immediate downtown vicinity, and 1 rental unit in the downtown vicinity in projects with the scope of about $340,000. So just one of those programs made available through state funding where the ability to have some people here to administer the program, get a few dollars out, and help to drive some of those projects downtown. One of the other major undertakings that I'll jump to next that we've been working on since 2017 with the assistance of Joe Faust and First Stop Shop out of Scott County is doing a business retention and expansion program. To this point, and actually it's 40 visits that we've done at this point. We had done one last week as well, but given us the opportunity to get out and visit area businesses just to have a conversation, let them know who's on the EDA, the sorts of things that we're looking to help businesses out with, and get an idea of what sort of needs that they're seeing, whether it be workforce development, utility issues, additional space for real estate, things of that nature, you know, see if business is healthy, if companies are growing and adding jobs, or if there's concerns about maybe things going the other direction. So included a summary of a lot of the discussions, just kind of highlighting the things that were common through the visits, answers to responses that we heard from both business owners and management. We had a pretty good mix when we get out to see them. In a lot of instances, we're communicating directly with the ownership. In some, we're talking with management. So a good base of what we're seeing there. And by and large, I think a good opportunity for the city to get out and the EDA to market itself, be familiar with the business community and let the business community know that we're interested in helping them out and making sure that they know who to contact if they've got concerns of any sort. So that's been a good project that's ongoing. We will probably continue with that into the future. And, you know, this will be probably as we get out of the pandemic or get to a point where we're able to do some face-to-face visits again, hopefully later on in the summer. Go back for kind of a round 2 on this. This is something that we think there's value in keeping going and keeping up on an ongoing basis, getting out to see these businesses every couple of years to see if things have changed, if there are additional needs or things going on. One of the other projects we undertook recently here with the Highway 19 reconstruction, we contributed $25,000 of our budget to assist with marketing during that to help local businesses downtown in partnership with the chamber. We'll probably see a lot more of that, obviously, with the larger part of the construction coming up here in the upcoming summer, but this is going to help advertising, signage, just general marketing so that people know where they can park their cars, access downtown, those sorts of things to again, just hopefully help out the businesses down there that are going to be affected while the road is under construction. Also, as in 2020, with some funding from the CARES Act, another initiative we undertook with a grant there and some additional dollars provided by the council, we put $200,000 out into the community via $7,500 grants to 27 local businesses. So you've got the list of that there. Again, funded through the CARES grant, and just a nice opportunity with all the impact everybody's seeing from the COVID pandemic to get those dollars out and help our business owners here locally. From there, the next probably 4 or 5 items in that packet really get into real estate activity in the community that we've seen over the last 5 or 6 years here. The construction activity has some good data in there, just kind of numbers, values of permits, impact on the tax base, those sorts of things that we're seeing here in the community. And then just the overall picture of what we're sitting with for inventory at this point in time. You know, when you kind of look at it over the, you know, I've been in town for 10 years now, and to see the progress from when I came in 2010 to where we're at now is pretty amazing. Down to 64 residential lots available. There's 10 commercial lots available, and 8 of those fall under industrial. So a lot of home building activity continuing to go on in the region, and we've got a great community to live in, a great community with schools and amenities that continue to make it attractive for families to move to. So then we've also included just a real estate update, kind of give you an idea of some trends, where pricing has gone, that sort of thing. And then included along with that is some information on just general population, size of households, that sort of thing. Again, back to the industrial lot, kind of touched on that to begin with. Initially came on board in 2015 with 9 lots there. We've got 7 of those remaining for sale. That constitutes the majority of our balance sheet. As far as assets, The most recent one of those was sold, was it 2 years ago, Mike? Has it been that long already? Or a year and a half? Okay. And 7 of those are remaining. We've been getting in the range of $1.50 a square foot, which is really a very reasonable price for a commercial or industrial lot. If you look at what's available in the surrounding areas, I think there's definitely some incentive with where we've priced these, and hopefully allowing businesses to expand or relocate to New Prague, and again, putting some additional jobs out there for the community. One of the big things to note there is when you look at the remaining lots there, we have not completed all of the infrastructure and assessments there. There are some pretty large things remaining, and I believe that's noted on there, yeah, with just the general assessments, which depending on the order of sale, where things fall, we are sitting with about $687,000 in obligations there. That'll consist of what needs to be done to put roads in. Yeah, where the mouse is being drugged there. Thank you. Curb, gutter, drainage, driveways, sewers, water mains, and then surface coatings on the roads. So depending on when and how those remaining lots sell, we do certainly have some work and obligations that are going to come with some expenses there. So I think that's worth noting, as when you look at our continued funding by the council, that is something that's definitely going to be on the horizon. We do continue to field a lot of interest through both our partner, both directly at the city and some of our partner development organizations throughout both counties. So it's pretty rare that we go a month and don't have some inquiries as to what we have available for space, what could be built on those lots. And I wouldn't be surprised if that continues when you look at a lot of the trends that we're seeing in neighboring communities. So again, I think the price points we're at on those make them very attractive to anybody kind of through our corridor here. And then to close out, we included our financials. Again, just to kind of highlight the majority of our assets being real estate holdings, and then some funds that we do have on deposit. So just a good snapshot of the things that we've been involved in over the last 6-7 years on the board, so that everybody is aware. And I guess from there I can open it up to any questions or conversations to be had. Probably a good opportunity to also thank Mike, Ken, and the city staff who assist us with all of our meetings and help us with a lot of that work. They're valuable partners in this whole process.
Does anybody have any questions for Brent?
No, thank you, Brent. It's well put together. Thank the rest of the board too.
Will do. Appreciate that, Rick.
Yes, the presentation, I got to see this, was at the last EDA meeting. We went over it and I was impressed with it also. I guess sometimes the EDA is the best kept secret in town, and not a lot of people, look at that when they're looking to expand. So
yeah, it's one of those, the needle doesn't move quickly, but when you kind of look back over the length of time, you can definitely see that we've managed to get a lot of things moved forward and accomplished over the last several years. So it's been a
Yes.
good group with a lot of good people volunteering their time to help out the community.
yes, it has.
Yeah, it is a wonderful report, and it's nice to bring the council up to date on all the activities that the EDA has undertaken, and all of the good that they've done for the city. I did have a question, and please let me know if it's not a good time to answer or not, but it was made known to us that there was an inquiry of a business, possibly the industrial park, for a shooting range. And I was just wondering if that has moved forward, or if it's still with the planning commission to determine any potential zoning issues.
Yeah, I would have Ken jump in on that one. That's going to be his realm there as far as negotiations and that sort of thing.
Yep. So Maggie, we did have an inquiry about that. That needed to start with a zoning ordinance amendment. Planning Commission just held a public hearing for a zoning ordinance amendment last Wednesday at Planning Commission meeting. I expect to get that in front of the council for our second meeting in March. So that'll kind of be the first time you guys will see that amendment that could possibly allow for that. So we'll see where that ends up going. We might end up changing the zoning ordinance and then not getting an actual proposal, but at least we'll be prepared for it with performance standards, you know, to make sure that one safely and appropriately can operate in this city.
Thanks, Ken.
Good.
And this is Mike, I would respond as well, is that just because Ken's dealing with that to determine whether it would fit within the zoning, is the EDA would have to evaluate the request, if that formal request would come to sell a lot in the industrial park, and based on how it would be laid out and what would propose to be built, you know, whether it would meet the general aspects that you know, the EDA is looking at expanding tax base and adding jobs in the sale of land for development purposes. So we can't sit here and say good, bad, or indifferent or anything just because it hasn't moved to the point that we've received any inquiry on the purchase of a lot. At least I haven't directly, and I've handled most of the development agreements that go with the sale of that land.
Thanks, Mike.
Okay. Any other questions for Mr. Quast?
Just thank you, Brent.
Thanks, Brent.
Yeah, likewise, appreciate the time.
Okay, thank you much. If there's no other questions, we'll go on to item 3, the resolution number 21-03-01-01. Ken?
Get loaded up here, 1 second. There we go. So the next item on the agenda is for variance of B1 2021. This is an application made by New Prague Utilities Commission / City of New Prague. This is for a building and parking lot variance at their existing location there. You can see on overhead, located on the corner of First Avenue and 7th Street Northwest. What they're looking to propose is a 95 foot by 145 foot, which is just under 14,000 square foot addition onto that existing 80 by 100 foot building. The addition would be 29.7 feet from the property line along 7th Street on the north and 16.3 feet from the property line along First Avenue Northwest front right of way. The final variance is a parking lot variance for a parking lot addition that they're looking to put on the north side of the existing building, and that would be sought to be only 8.7 feet from that north property line instead of the ordinance requirement at 15 feet. And we'll show you an overhead schematic here in a minute, give you a little more details on how this all lays out. And the council's heard the full space needs study from the Utility Commission, but this would meet their space needs out for a 15 to 20 year period. We did not have any public comments received at our Planning Commission meeting last week. And ultimately, the Planning Commission did recommend approval of the variance on a 4-0 vote. Excuse me. With the findings listed in the attached resolution on the packet. Excuse me. I'll go over very quickly. I'm kind of losing my voice a little bit here. On the overhead, the property outlined in red is the city utility owned property. It's zoned I-1 light industrial. And then I just wanted to point out adjacent properties are the middle school athletic fields to the east, and then to the south is the tennis court. It actually partly encroaches on the city property. And we had an agreement that we entered into with the district for that encroachment south of the creek. but it's largely industrial area with Chart, MV Biological Solutions, and Scott Equipment being used. Zooming in a little further, you can see the existing 80 by 100 foot building. One thing to note is that the laydown area will be moved from the direct east side of the building over to the southwest side of the building here, roughly in this area where I've got my pointer here. Hopefully you can see that. And then the building addition will go on the east side of the existing building. And I'll show you a schematic of that right here. So the schematic here, the outline in blue is the existing 80 by 100 foot building. So this rectangle is the 90 foot wide addition on the east side there. What I've done in this overhead is point out any part of the building that's shown in yellow is what is in requirement or required the variances. So this is the north portion there at 29.7 feet, just a little corner of that. And then as you get over to First Avenue northwest side, this is where the majority of the variance is needed, down to that 16.3 feet in that northeast corner. Regarding the parking lot, normally that's required to be 15 feet from that front property line, and we've got a little corner right here that encroaches to within 8.7 feet of that front property line. So again, not a huge variance, just want to point out without that variance, you'd lose one, maybe two parking spots there. And this will be used for their new employee parking lot for the most part. So that hopefully gives a good overview of the area. Again, laydown area is shown on this schematic, southwest corner of the site, nearer the creek. One more photo to show that shows existing building kind of in this reddish color, and then the proposed building in orange, and excuse me, the parking lot on the north side of the existing building. So kind of the reference points here, and as we look at the photos in a minute, the fence along First Avenue Northwest is really the east edge of the proposed building, so that gives you kind of a visual, and the building addition would be roughly the height, excuse me, of the existing building that we've got there today. One more interior layout of the building, and a lot of this was already reviewed with the council, but I just wanted to put it up again to show how the new space will be used for the 15 to 20 year time period. So here's a main picture of the existing building. Again, the laydown area will be moving, and here's really where the edge of that east side of the building will be located. Won't be any closer than the fence is, actually be very close to the edge of where the fence is right here. So building will extend to the north, obviously over to the portion of the existing building, and then back towards that corner there. Looking on this photo here, we've got basically this is where the parking lot will be infilling this open area currently, and then the building addition will be extending a little further to the north than the existing building does today. So gives you a little picture of that. And then this would be where the laydown area would be moved to, kind of this southwest corner of the site right now. Then one final view again of the existing building, showing how kind of packed in the equipment and vehicles and base needs are in there. But Bruce had gone over this with you guys a few meetings back. So with that, staff and the Planning Commission did recommend approval once again with the findings that are noted in that resolution. And I'll leave this photo up should you have any questions or comments. And we do have Mr. Zwaber from the Utility Commission staff that can answer questions while Bruce is on vacation this week.
All right, any questions? Hearing none, I would take a motion to approve the resolution.
This is
I'll make the
Maggie.
motion.
That's okay. Go ahead,
I'll make a
John,
motion, we approve it.
and I'll second.
Okay. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Maggie,
Aye.
Sean,
Aye.
Rick,
Aye.
Bruce,
Aye.
And Jurek votes aye. Motion carries. Okay, thank you. All right, the next thing on the agenda is the information for city administrator hiring discussion. And I just want to start that off because I asked for this to be placed on the agenda after Mike gave us his letter of retirement. So I was involved with the last hiring when we hired Mike back in 2008. And if I'm doing my math right, and no, that's not right. I'm not right. Am I right? Okay. Back in 2008, we went and we hired a executive research firm back then. And, you know, this is an important decision of the council that we need to make for the future of the city. Back then, Jerry Bonesock provided us with names, and we asked him to solicit RFPs for places that wanted to help us with the search and costs of what that search would entail. The council back then reviewed the RFPs. They interviewed the firms, and we eventually selected a executive search candidate. We then met with the executive search candidate, or the firm that we hired, and basically it was the council and the firm, and we sat down with them and we told them, meaning the council sat down, we told the firm that what we were looking for in the next city administrator in New Prague. Then they went and they advertised, however they do it, they solicited candidates and brought us to a list of candidates, and we narrowed it down to, I believe, 5 at the end, and we interviewed all 5 of those candidates one Saturday. The company, they set up all the questions that were that needed to be asked based on what we were looking for at that interview that time. I made some notes because it was kind of a lengthy thought here. You know, and I guess we have 2 options. We can go out and we can hire one of the firms that Mike provided in our packet here and see what they would give us the best bang for the buck. And you know, at that time the council hired, because it is a very involved and lengthy process, the council hired a firm because of you know, everybody has things. We're busy in our lives, and there's no way in heck that one person without any knowledge of hiring an executive can know exactly everything that needs to be done. So we can do that, or the other option is that we can post it internally per our policy, and we can't talk to anybody tonight on the Zoom because, you know, we can't, you know, ask pointed questions if somebody is willing to apply for it, because there might be other people within the city that can apply for it. So that's the start of the discussion, and I just like for discussion and guidance from the council to go forward.
I got a question, if you would, Dwayne.
Yes, Rick.
When picking the company last time, did you go by what they were charging to do such a thing, or?
No, it wasn't only charged, we interviewed them, and I might have failed to mention that, but we interviewed them, we talked to them. You know, they send their best person forward, you know, and they tell us, you know, what they can do and what they can't do, and what might be expected, or this is what you don't do. No, price wasn't the determining factor of who we went with, no.
And is there a roundabout price that you guys paid for that, or?
I can't remember, that so long ago. And the thing with the RFPs would be that that's what we're going to be looking for, what they can provide, their services that they can provide, and the cost. And I think you'll see that they'll be kind of all over the board. But you know, you really got to analyze what the services that they're offering.
Dwayne, if I can interrupt to add to that,
Sure.
is they would also give you the schedule, as you said, that you get price and what their process would be, what the schedule would be, so that you have all that. The other piece that many councils have looked for in that is that, let's talk worst case, that let's say you hire somebody and for whatever reason it doesn't work out, and in the first 12 to 18 months you part company. Is in many of the search firm processes, depending on whether they put it in there or not, is there's a willingness and a requirement there that they would conduct a second search at no cost if worst case something didn't work out in that first 18 months or something. So it's something that is typically, I think, in most of these recruitment submittals.
Thank you.
This is Bruce. I have some experience with working with search firms, so I support the idea of the next step being a solicitation of RFPs for executive search firms. I think that going this route, looking for more of a professional process and trying to establish an objective process, and helping us determine the best fit, and really trying to work with 5 different individuals trying to make a decision. A third-party provider gives us a lot of benefit in that way. The third-party provider also provides a lot of benefit with getting more flexibility as far as narrowing the field of applicants down. And also we have helps us to really guide us through the process. And as you said, Dwayne, not everyone has the same kind of experience in going through these kind of tasks. So I think it would help us if we did engage with a firm. So I would support the next step being soliciting RFPs.
Right.
And I too would be in favor of soliciting RFPs. I've been on both ends of an executive search firm, that me being a person being placed and also hiring individuals through a search firm. As an individual that was placed with a search firm, I can tell you that the process I went through was very rigorous. I mean, it was a very tough interview process to make sure that I had what was needed for a particular position. And then that search firm individual that I was working with set up an interview where I eventually was hired, along with other candidates. But she was able to really weed through the candidate list and put forth who, in her opinion, were the best candidates. That saves a tremendous amount of time for us. And also being on the other end of using a search firm, again, they're putting forth good candidates that are going to meet our criteria. And from there, hopefully we get kind of the cream of the crop from which to choose, which goes a long way for us. To Dwayne, your point, the position as city administrator is extremely important for the future of our city. Mike, I know the countless hours that you put in and the effort that you put in and all the hard work. It really takes someone special to do that. And so I would be all in favor of using a search firm to help us through that process.
Thanks, Maggie.
You're welcome.
Dwayne, I'd just like to say too, I have been talking about process for the last couple meetings, and I think this would be great. I would fully support engaging in a detailed process for this position.
Okay, good.
I would too, and shouldn't there be a certain amount of expediency involved here? What are we looking at in timing? Can we possibly get them in next meeting to interview, or?
Well, no, we wouldn't do interviews next meeting, but we would hope to have their RFPs in front of us by the next meeting. As far as that goes. And so then we could make a choice. There might be a couple of special meetings in the middle of this just for this purpose.
Right.
Because I do remember that from the last selection period that, just to get the crew together, we had to have a couple special meetings to select the firm, or interview and then select the firm, and then tell them, and then they went out and did their thing. I believe that they'll come back to us with, if they are selected, we can have somebody back by a certain time. And there have been, I think there is a time frame in this packet, isn't there? If I remember seeing, I saw some type of a calendar.
Example, I think.
Or was it an example? Yeah. So,
Well, Dwayne, you're not talking about the 6-month calendar that I put in the packet, are you?
yeah, I was just glancing at that, but
That was only to have kind of in front of you that I've given you 6 months. And
Yes.
so if you take a look at that, the entire process, my guesstimate is likely from starting point to the point that you might be able to interview and extend offers. That's likely going to take you from now through June. And then if you've selected somebody, then they're going to have to put in their notice to their existing employer likely. And that could end up being a 30, 45, 60-day notice on the other end, which is why I tried to make sure that there was enough time within just generally looking at the calendar. And you'll have a better idea once you have proposals from the consultants to see how that would fit within that timeline. And that's what would be required to be submitted, so that you've got an idea of, how it's going to work and how tight it's going to be. But ultimately, the goal, if depending on who's hired, whether there is an internal or whether it's external, is that whatever happens, if it ended up being external, that whoever that is has an opportunity to hopefully provide enough time to get out of their current employment, if they are employed, to be able to move to the community, and if they have a family, to be able to get kids engaged in school towards the end of August, so that they're ready to go. And so that was part of my thinking, and providing you with this kind of notice was anticipating how a normal recruitment process might work, what's the timing, and then once you've extended an offer and agreed on a contract or whatnot, is then they've got to work the other end of it, and can they get there in time here with their family to hopefully get started with the kids in school, if that was the case.
okay. Yeah, Bruce.
I was just going to mention, there's a suggested timeline on page 29, and my only comment there is that I think that timeline that's shown there as an example, that's how I read it, is about 6 months, but we're already under 6 months now. So my comment would be to keep at this on a very timely manner and have it, we're looking at a much shorter timeline than the example there. And it seems like, and I appreciate my giving it so much time, but that time will go fairly quick.
Yes, it will.
And I'm not sure the council needs to decide how much involvement they want in the process. And some of these issues that we have not discussed yet might take time or stretch out the process. So I just would encourage us all to keep focused on it and look at the timeline being less than 6 months, really 4 months or something less than that.
Yeah, and just to go back to when we did it, it was a tight timeline. I mean, we were moving along with the executive search firm. And it wasn't, we weren't just waiting for the meetings to come up regularly, and we were making it work by their schedule to get the council together to be able to tell them what we were looking for and stuff like that. So yeah, we went along pretty swiftly, Bruce. I guess I'd like to make a motion for Administrator Johnson to contact the 4 listed companies that he put in the packet. Baker and Tilly, David Drown Associates, the Mercer Group, and GovHR USA, and request RFPs for the
I'll
next
second
meeting.
the motion.
Okay, Maggie seconded it. Is there any other discussion?
I have another question. Was
Yes.
this list an all-inclusive list, or is this list ones, or were there more that do this for municipalities in the state, and you honed it down to these 4?
I contacted the league, and I've been watching for a number of months who are the regular firms that are doing business across the state. And these 4 were developed through, again, my conversation with the league, and in just watching through my professional associations. So I tried to get as many of those that I generally see coming across that are currently working with cities throughout the state of Minnesota. So that's where I came from, Bruce, in it. I don't want to tell you that it's an absolute guaranteed list of everybody, but it was the most common ones that appear to be doing this work with cities, to the best of my knowledge.
So is it possible, if someone becomes aware of this and they are executive search firm, that they can be added to this list after our motion?
I would be open to make that, you know, I'd be open to, I don't want to exclude anybody if they do find out.
Well, just
I don't have any knowledge of that. Yeah, so but these things have a way of getting out, and people find out, and maybe they contact us, and that's my only comment.
Well, if you're wanting us to be able to send out somewhat of an RFP that's going to generally ask them for their pricing, their timing, the process on how they're going to go about it, and any other relevant information that they generally think is appropriate. I threw the one in, I think, from Chaska, just to give you a general idea. I'm not necessarily advocating that that's exactly or precisely what I would use. I threw that in just as a model, but I think that, you know, the materials that they're going to provide, they pretty much have at their fingertips. And if you're asking me to be able to, through this process, to make contact with them, to provide that information, you know, we can give them a week to a little over a week to respond without any difficulties, and then try to be able to summarize it so that we can have it in your hands at the March 15th meeting. That, yeah, if somebody happened to raise their hand and say, well, we might be interested, well, as long as we can get their materials in by next week in the timeline that we identify, I would say, okay. This is considered professional services, you know, just like the auditor or legal or engineering. You're not publicly required to bid it, so it's not like we're putting it in the newspaper and requesting bids. Is that we're requesting proposals to you. And so if somebody happened to call in or raise their hand, we could certainly send it to them and they could submit. But under the timeline that I'm hearing from you, is there's not a lot of time. If we try to get this out in the next day or so and make the contacts with those due next week, it's tight from what you're describing.
I'm comfortable with that. Thank you.
Okay, any other discussion? Otherwise, I would take I'll take a vote. Maggie,
Aye.
Sean,
Aye.
Rick,
Aye.
Bruce,
Aye.
and Jurek votes aye. Thank you. I'm excited to see what comes in. What else do we have on the agenda? The consent agenda. I would take a motion to approve that consent agenda as
So move.
Rick made the motion. Is there a second? Bruce made the second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Maggie,
Aye.
Sean,
Aye.
Rick,
Aye.
Bruce,
Aye.
and Jurek votes aye. All right. Is there any other miscellaneous, anything that anybody wants to bring up for the good of the organization? Yes, Mike.
Mayor, I've got one that we had requested your participation on scheduling a special meeting in conjunction with the New Prague Utilities, taking a look at information related to an update to the compensation plan. And we had talked about, and the general agreement from everybody that I could find appears to work out for next Tuesday, March 9th, with a joint meeting with the Utilities Commission. The question would be is what start time would work best for everybody? Would you like a 5:30 or 6 o'clock start? And what this will do is that many of you have not been through this process to deal with, pay compensation issues in the report, dealing with pay equity, with comparable worth. And we've been working with Leah Davis from the Abdo, Ike & Myers, the auditing firm on the HR side. And if you remember, Leah was the one that helped us early last year to finish up the adoption of the personnel policy. So she would be the individual that's involved in this process. And part of the early part of the evening would be spent going through a bit of an education, because it's been since 2014 that we really looked at this last issue. Prior to that, it was 2007. And so there's a number of people that haven't been through that whole process. And so we've got education, discussion. There wouldn't necessarily be any intent to finally arrive at having you make a decision that evening, because there will be a lot of education and discussion, and you may want time to be able to digest that and to make sure you understand and can ask questions and feel comfortable with that process. But we're just looking at trying to get a start time and to begin the process with a number of you next Tuesday. And so it's your preference whether you want to try to get an early start or whether we go at the regular time of 6 o'clock.
What's everybody thinking?
I'm fine with 5:30.
I'm too.
I can make that.
You can make it?
Yes.
Do we want to say 5? Okay, 5 o'clock.
Okay, go at 5 o'clock. All right, and we will have materials out to you this week yet.
Okay,
Thank you.
Could you double it up for me?
yeah, or double it up. Okay, anything else? Does
No,
anybody
the
have?
only thing I was going to point out is we have Matt with us tonight. This is his first council meeting in his new role as Public Works Director. That we kicked Glenn out of the organization last week and sent him on his way. And so he's currently involved in kitchen remodeling. So Matt, Matt has graciously stepped in here with the council's promotion, And so we're off and running with Matt in this new position, and we're excited to be able to work with him in this new capacity.
And great job on the snow plowing.
Yes.
And the salting.
How did he get off so easy without having to present anything on his first meeting, Mike?
I don't have anything to present, but I do have an update for you guys.
Okay.
I talked to the contractor, Deutsche Construction, that's taking down the armory.
Mhm.
His plans are to maybe start this week already. And that would be, you probably really won't notice because he's going to be just demoing the inside. And then hopefully next week, weather permitting and scheduling, he said that he would start demoing the outside. So this week you might not see much besides, a couple construction vehicles there, nothing too exciting, but tomorrow, next week, potentially a little bit more exciting where a building gets knocked down. So again, that's construction. It can change every day, but that is the update I got today.
Cool.
Thank you.
The quick answer to Sean's question, however, is that it's good to be in good with the guy that puts the agenda together. And, we want to kind of ease him in. We didn't want to beat up on him too much the first night. So there will be plenty of time to ask him to step into that role.
Okay. Anybody else? If not, I would take a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second,
Second.
all in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Have a good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Night.
Later.
Nice